First story I wanted to talk about is about a woman named Rachel Hamm. She's running for Secretary of State of California. She's a Republican. So naturally, I wanted to cover her as a politician, see what she believes, see where her head is at. So she went on this podcast, or this show, with Dr. Mary Crewley, and she had some interesting things to say. So let's see what she had to say for herself.
Satan also has a plan for your life. And that's something that I think is sometimes eye-opening to people. Like, they don't realize how much there's a battle over your life and over your destiny, and how we have to war to sometimes get ourselves into that promised land. And for me, the war started really young when I was in preschool.
I always thought that God had a plan for your life. This was what I was told when I was little. God has a plan for your life, and Satan is doing everything he can to derail that plan. I've never heard that Satan has a plan for your life, but okay, whatever. I'm already not voting for her because she's obviously a religious wingnut and absolutely obsessed with working religion into every aspect of public life. But we haven't even heard the worst of it yet. Let's keep listening. She's about to tell us about being in preschool.
And for me, the war started really young when I was in preschool. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, so I was normally home with her. But then she had to have surgery on her neck. And it was going to be quite the recovery process, and going to be just a long journey. So my grandmother offered to put me in preschool, since it would be hard for my mom to recover and also take care of me.
We're getting a little derailed here, Rachel. Come on, but bring us home. Bring us to the point.
So she took her up on that. And the preschool was a coven that was run by witches. And really, the cover was that it was a preschool, but in reality, it was a coven where they were training children in satanic rituals and in all things satanic.
I am super, ultra, mega skeptical right now. Do you have the name of the preschool? Can you give us any information about it other than your loose claims with absolutely no evidence behind it? Why would your grandmother put you into something like that? That is strange to me. Obviously, she grew up religious. You don't just become this brand of extremist evangelical without growing up in an incredibly religious environment. But aside from that, what she's saying here is very closely mirroring the satanic panic. Back in the 80s and the 1990s, there was this absolutely bizarre phenomenon where people were coming out and claiming that they were like victims of satanic ritual abuse and stuff. It was really weird stuff, making all kinds of real specific and bizarre and, of course, unverifiable claims about being victims of Satanist rituals and stuff. And it swept across the country. Pokemon got pulled into it. You know, Pokemon is full of demons, and it's all a ploy to get your kids to love Satan. And
Pokemon, Pocket Monster, the spiral. And it stands for what? Male fertility. It's supposed to be able to mesmerize and hypnotize its enemies. This character over here is called Mewtwo. Every time that you see Mewtwo, he's in this pose. 3 fingers. It means hail Satan. Cute little one. Everybody go, oh, come on. His tail. It's a lightning bolt. And it's a satanic Z.
Harry Potter got pulled into it eventually, too. I mean, it was just absolutely nuts. This clip right here, this is a product of the satanic panic. This is like a documentary or whatever made about a time when this guy, this Satanist, was trying to cause problems in churches. Check this out.
They will try and infiltrate your church. They will try and set up whispering campaigns against the pastor and the elders. They may even try to seduce the pastor.
For 2 years, I was involved in the Baptist church. I was constantly complaining about the pastor's sermons being too long, being too dry, sowing discord between the people, gossiping about others.
Glenn, former Satanist, notice for the audio audience, it's documentary style, and right under his face is his name, Glenn, and his title, former Satanist. I love it. Absolutely love it, dude. Absolutely love it. So anyway, this sounds like a product of the satanic panic to me, personally. Let's continue listening to Rachel Hamm's description of being in a preschool that was actually a coven.
Training children in satanic rituals and in all things satanic and how to be a Satanist. Literally, it was day one. It was immediate. And I then, just begged to not go back. But I didn't say what was happening there, though, because they made you feel like you were complicit. So you would never tell because you think you're equally guilty.
See, this is honestly really disgusting to me. Obviously, the preschool that she went to was not a Satanist cult or a coven. That is complete nonsense. I'm calling BS on that. If she wants to provide evidence, I will examine it. Until evidence is provided, I'm defaulting to disbelief on this. The words, the language that she's using right now, it's the same type of language people use to describe actual, real abuse. What it sounds like to me is she went to a therapist or she studied psychology to some degree and picked up on the verbiage that's used when people really are coming out of genuinely abusive situations, and she's weaponizing it against Satanism, or she's weaponizing it in an effort to bolster her credibility and make herself easier to believe to a Christian audience. It's absolutely disgusting. Candidate for Secretary of State, by the way, for California. Candidate for Secretary of State.
And then they literally teach you how to cast a spell.
Spells aren't real, okay? I know a billion Satanists. I'm an atheist. Spells are not real. That right there, that line, is the evidence that I need to know she's lying.
They literally teach you how to cast a spell. We had to make covenants, which I have undone all of that now,
How do you undo a covenant that you, I guess a covenant is like an agreement with God or with Satan, right? How do you undo an agreement with Satan? I don't know. I'm skeptical.
I had been told in the preschool that my firstborn would belong to Satan. And I did not have conscious memory of that on an ongoing basis until later. I remembered that at one point.
Yeah, this sounds really similar to, what was it? I'm trying to remember. We talked about this in a psychology class when I was in college. Yeah, okay. So we talked about this when I was in psychology classes back in college, but there's this book called Michelle Remembers. It was written in 1980. It was co-written by a psychiatrist, Lawrence Pasder, and his psychiatric patient and eventual wife. They ended up getting married, Michelle Smith. It's heavily discredited. I mean, it's been discredited for a long time. It's complete nonsense. Now, I'm reading from an article about this, by the way, but it says here, it relied on the discredited practice of recovered memory therapy. The reason that this even came up in a psychology class in the first place is because we were talking about false memories and how unreliable false memories are. And my mom actually had experiences with false memories being planted in her mind by something really similar to what happened here. But here's a summary. Let me just read a quick summary of the book. The book chronicles therapy sessions between Pasder and Smith and alleged recovered memories of satanic rituals she claims she was forced to attend as a child. Pasder stated that Smith was abused by the Church of Satan, which, by the way, Church of Satan is on Twitter. I talk with all kinds of members of the Church of Satan. They don't take part in this type of ritual stuff that Michelle claimed to have taken part in or been victim to. It's absolute nonsense. Church of Satan, purportedly a worldwide organization predating the Christian Church. The first alleged ritual attended by Smith occurred in 1954 when she was 5 years old, with the final one, an 81-day ritual in 1955 that supposedly summoned Satan himself and involved the intervention of Jesus, the Virgin Mary, and Michael the Archangel, who removed the scars received by Smith throughout the year of abuse and blocked memories of the events until the time was right. Anyway, the book was completely made up. The tricky thing about false memories is the person telling you what they're remembering isn't necessarily lying. In fact, if it is a real case of false memories, they're not lying. They genuinely believe that this is a real thing that happened to them. Genuinely, to the bottom of their hearts, believe it. And the psychiatrist could very well believe that it's real too. Everybody involved can believe that it's real, but it wasn't. That's the thing about false memories. So, anyways, that's what this sounds like. Rachel Hamm sounds like she's describing the plot line of the book Michelle Remembers from like the 1980s, and it's famously the book that started the Satanic Panic. It's just nonsense, and it's absolutely disgusting that she's trying to push this stuff all over again. She's trying to revive the Satanic Panic, it seems like here. Remember, candidate for Secretary of State for the state of California. She's been talking about Satanism for a long time, though. That wasn't even the first time. Like I said, that last clip was from mid-March 2022, so not that long ago as of the moment that this video is releasing. But she's been talking about Satanism this entire time. There's this Daily Beast article written by Will Sommer, published October 21st, 2021. This is when Rachel Hamm really started to kind of hit the map because she's kind of revving up her campaign and all that. So she started making all kinds of really weird claims around this time. Listen to this. This is from the article, the Daily Beast article. In her bid to be California's Secretary of State, Republican candidate Rachel Hamm has the backing of some of the leading lights in the Trump movement. She's the endorsement of MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell, former Trump National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, and Steve Bannon called her part of a rising generation of superstars. The links to Q are entirely too close for my comfort. Way too many connections to Q here, just based on that list of names. Anybody connected to Michael Flynn makes me incredibly nervous, just based on the sheer amount of propaganda being pushed out by the guy. Anyway, let's keep reading. But Hamm's new allies often fail to mention her role battling in what she imagines as a ceaseless war with Satanists and witches. Hamm has claimed that devil worshippers sacrificed animals and performed other occult rituals in front of her house, but she isn't without her defenses, saying that her prayers also inspired the murder of a witch in her neighborhood. Let me just point something out here. This is the kind of person who actually prays for somebody's... That is an ideological line that I would never ever cross. This person is hoping and wishing and praying for somebody in her neighborhood, just some random person, a witch, a supposed witch in her neighborhood, praying for them to disappear. I don't care whose side you're on. I don't care if you're on the left. I wouldn't stand for that kind of tactic, period. I wouldn't pray for somebody's like that. What is wrong with you that you think that that's okay? When I talk about these people, when I talk about like all these televangelists and all of these bizarre religious politicians and stuff, my problem isn't with the fact that they're religious. Really. I have no problem with that. It's with the tactics that they employ. The tactics they employ truly, deeply disgust me. It's just evil. Check out this next clip, mid-September 2021. She was on her campaign tour once again, so listen to this one.
And you know what? I do believe the prophets. And I can tell you do too, right? So when we hear God speak through his prophets, yeah, I see the disaster that California is. And this is what I say. I say California is going to meet my blood. California is going to have revival. California is going to turn around, and a revolution is going to begin in California, and it's going to sweep across the whole country. And we agree in Jesus' name.
Working Jesus into her campaign events as much as possible, I see. I get that you can't really win an election as a Republican without appealing to Jesus to some degree, but some of the things that she says are completely and totally over the top. Completely over the top. This is basically a religious event at this point. It's barely a campaign event anymore.
I was praying about California. I was telling the Lord certain things and the problems and blah, blah, blah. And Lord, what are we going to do about this? What are we going to do about that? And he said, Rachel, you don't understand. California is hopeless. And I said, sir? Then why am I here? And why am I running for Secretary of State? And he said, well, this is the thing. Truly, it is hopeless apart from God. It's just such a mess. But this is the thing, is we're not apart from God. So there's hope, and I have personally experienced miracles. So I know what God can do, and he can do whatever he wants to do, and I believe he intends to do amazing things in California. Keep watching California. God told me, you think you're running for Secretary of State, Rachel? You are not. Again, sir? are you sure? Because I have a website that says that I am. And he said, no, you are not. And I said, what in the world? What?
I love these like fabricated fake interactions. Like, do you think she sat down and planned this ahead of time? Certainly, right? She's reciting a speech, basically. What was going through her head when she sat down at the table and thought to herself, I think I'm going to claim that God said this to me, and then I think I'm going to claim that I responded this way. I just don't see any other way that this played out but for her to just fabricate this conversation with God.
What am I doing then? And he said, I am sending you out to expose lies, to speak truth, and to establish my kingdom every single place that you step your foot.
That should be concerning to us too, right there. Like I said, this isn't a campaign event, really. This is a religious event. She is building her campaign off of religious belief. She's building the campaign off of religious conviction and doing everything that she can to draw in every religious extremist that she can find and get them to vote for her. That is concerning. At this point, the Republican Party effectively, I'm sorry guys, I don't like talking bad about other people who are, there are moderates out there. I know there are moderate Republicans, but I have to say, guys, if you're a moderate Republican, I want you here. I'm glad you're here listening. But I have to point this out. The evangelical voting bloc is what is steering the ship right now. The evangelicals are making decisions for the Republican Party. They're affecting policy. They're picking the politicians. You can't win an election without the support of the evangelical voters. If you're a moderate Republican, get out. It is doing nothing but damage to the country right now because it's the evangelicals that are steering the ship. Get out. Find a third party. Vote with people who are more in line with your interests. I get you want lower taxes. I get it. I get that you want, I don't know. What do moderate Republicans want? I get that you want some things. You have some ideas in common with this person, with Rachel Hamm. But trust me, it's being run by extremists right now, and you do not, trust me, you don't want what they have to offer the country. This next clip came out recently, too. This is mid-March 2022, okay? So things are revving up for the primary. She's going on tour, going around the country, trying to get people interested in her campaign. And who does she appear with? Johnny Enlow. Of all people, Johnny Enlow. I've been talking about this guy for like ever. He's effectively the linchpin between Christianity and QAnon. He's one of the more famous pastors in both movements. He links the two movements together, and he's got some real strange ideas about how the world works.
I was asking the Lord about it. He hadn't told me. And I was like, Lord, you still haven't showed me. And so I was like, Lord, as I'm saying that, the first thing he said is, He is going to save you from things you don't know you need to be saved from yet. And then the Lord progressively began to speak regarding that. And he said, this time in the presidency is going to be a hinge of the ages and be known as before Trump and after Trump because of the way I'm going to use him. I'm using him as a Trump card, but I'm the Trump card player. And the Lord, it was like, I'm really not interested in your all's vote this time. I'm doing it. I usually give you all that option. This time I'm not. This is a rescue operation from heaven.
From heaven's standpoint, Trump is the number one government official on planet Earth. The seat where Biden is way less important than people know. At some point, yes, that seat will be back officially where it's supposed to. I don't know the timing of it. I had no idea of the full picture, the full range of everything that needed to be corrected and then brought into alignment with the kingdom of God. When I was getting the original prophetic words on it, my initial stuff is the world will be known as before and after Trump when he comes in. And I was even looking at my prophetic word from 4 years ago. It's going to be an 8-year operation for that to happen.
So anyway, she did this appearance with Johnny Enlow. Let's listen to what she has to say. I don't think Enlow speaks here. This is just her giving us her thoughts. Check it out.
What was the the reason behind deciding to run for this office? I mean, you've got a lot of things.
First of all, I'm a prophetic dreamer, so I had spent a lot of 2019 and 20 having a lot of political dreams that I was in office.
Prophetic dreamer. Prophetic dreamer. FYI, this is effectively an endorsement by Johnny Enlow. The fact that he's showing up on this podcast with her and talking to her and everything. Her association with Johnny Enlow alone should be enough to get you to vote against her. Like, literally anybody. Literally anybody would be better than voting for this person right here if she has Johnny Enlow's endorsement.
Because our youngest son, Ezekiel, is a seer, I went and got him. And I said, hey, can you look around and see what you're seeing? Because I just really, I get a kick out of hearing him describe, what he sees. And so I said, let me know if you see anything. And so he looked in my bedroom and my bathroom, and he said, there's nothing there. And then he goes into the closet, which is where I had been when I was praying. And he said, whoa. And his eyes got like big as saucers. And he kind of like started backing away, and they started bending down. And he said, you've got a really big guy in your closet, and his power is pushing me to the ground. And he'd never had that reaction ever to an angel. And so I'm like, he's for us, not against us, right? Because I was sure, it's a different response. And he's like, he's full of light. He's so full of light, I can't even see his face. And then he said, and he has a scroll in his hand. And so I was like, then he came with a message. Like, what is the message? And the message was a commissioning.
So the message was a commissioning? I don't understand. What is she talking about? The message was a commissioning. It's like they speak in riddles. You know what she's doing here, really? She's speaking in a way that sounds like it came out of the Bible. Kat Kerr does this same exact thing. Johnny Enlow does the same thing. They all do this. They're always trying to make their sentences, the way that they're structured, make them sound like it came straight out of God's mouth, like 1700s era King James Bible type of thing. That should be a sign. That should be a sign that they're grifting, in my opinion.
So at the very end, I asked him what his name was, because I thought, what angel is this, And he said, Emmanuel.
Emmanuel, of course, is Jesus. That's what some people call him.
That wasn't an angel. That wasn't an angel. That was Jesus himself. And so that's why I'm running for Secretary of State. So it's kind of a unconventional answer that I honestly get mocked for, but by the other side of
course, yeah.
Of this.
There's a persecution complex rearing its ugly head once again. I honestly get mocked for that. Well, yeah, for one thing, that's mock-worthy. That's ridiculous. You did not get visited by Jesus, who then told you to run for Secretary of State, first of all. Second, they are absolutely obsessed with being persecuted. They want everybody in the audience, everybody listening, to think that they are so terribly mistreated, they're underdogs. This persecution complex increases this brotherhood, this camaraderie, this group loyalty. And if they feel like they're persecuted as Christians, as she's making them feel by describing her own persecution as a Christian, they will donate harder. They will do anything that they can to alleviate the situation. It makes them feel closer to God, closer to her, and more likely to do anything they can to get her elected. That's how the persecution complex is manipulated by people in power, or by people who want to be in power anyway. Interesting thing about this, though, is that isn't even the first time that she's told that story. Check this one out. Mid-September 2021, she tried the same grift just 6 months earlier.
Well, my youngest son is a seer. That means that he sees in the spirit. So he sees angels, he sees demons, he sees light and dark, and all kinds of spiritual stuff. He's also a prophet. So he's home because he's been exposed to COVID and isn't allowed to go to school. He comes and knocks on my office door, and I open the door and he said, just wanted to let you know, the house just filled up with angels. Yeah.
God, it just kills me listening to these people clap for something so absolutely ridiculous.
Right after I asked for them. And so many of us ask for angels to protect us, and then we have to trust by faith that they're there.
I don't know if you guys remember this, but it reminds me of that time that Kat Kerr, you guys remember Kat Kerr? She said that there were like angels on their way to help Donald Trump win the election.
Last night, I was out there sending 5 billion of them to go worldwide to make a sweep for the next 30 days, 24 hours a day, to expose any unseen, unknown wickedness, evil, cheating, stealing, lying. And I sent 5 billion last night out to go do that. And immediately they went, and they're going to go to every state and then every country, even some that people don't know about yet are about to find out about it.
And Paula White, Donald Trump's spiritual advisor, if you remember this, she says she dispatched angels from Africa. You remember that one?
Strike and 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 strike until you have victory. For angels are being released right now. Angels are being dispatched right now. Hamanda aka ata raka teda bak. For angels have even been dispatched from Africa right now. Africa right now. Africa right now. From Africa right now. They're coming here. They're coming here. In the name of Jesus. From South America. They're coming here. They're coming here.
Hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. And sad, because these people are actually buying it. They're believing this.
And that's good, that's fine, but like, praise God to have a seer to come in and say what you just asked for. But he didn't know I'd asked, right? Like, he's out there, I'm in here, Lord, give me angels. So he said, there's angels throughout the house. And he said, and I asked him why they're here. And he said, there are two kinds. So I said, why are you here and why are you here? And he said, this one said, because your mom is dealing with something very stressful and she needs support. I know.
Nobody made a noise on that one, weirdly. Were you expecting a noise? Is that why you said, I know? That's weird.
I know. And then he said, the other one said, because your mom is doing something very dangerous and we're here to protect her.
There's the noise. There's the noise, of course. It's sad that these people actually buy what she's selling. It's sad that they actually believe that this is real, that what she's saying here is real and not completely fabricated. I have to imagine that this speech was probably planned out, pre-planned. When you get up in front of an audience of, what, thousands maybe? I don't know. Probably thousands, at least hundreds, minimum multiple hundreds of people. When you get up in front of a crowd like that, I know, I've done it. You practice, you plan, you think out what you're going to say. You, at the very least, have an outline. And I can tell you, I'm very confident, in fact, betting my life, that God isn't speaking to this woman. What she's doing here is fabricating stories about God talking to her, about her son seeing angels or seeing Jesus, and Jesus giving her a special message, a special commission that she's supposed to be Secretary of State. Absolutely grotesque that she's taking advantage of these people. And she's using high-profile Q prophets, the linchpin, Johnny Enlow, between Q and Christianity, using people like this to build a bigger voter base. It's honestly sad. We absolutely have to make sure that we get out there and vote to ensure that this woman does not become Secretary of State. Like I said, she's a Republican in California, so her chances of being Secretary of State are incredibly low anyways. I'm just saying, we have people out there like this running for office. It's something we need to be aware of, and it's something we need to avoid at all costs. Belthazar228, thank you so much for the super chat again. I appreciate that. To think of how many children might have visual and auditory hallucinations, and instead of getting proper treatment, insane parents enable and encourage them. Yep. You know what those kids are dealing with right now? At least some of them?
Do not jump up right now and rebuke me for what I'm about to say.
This is Greg Locke. If you're unfamiliar, I've talked about him a few times. He is an extremist pastor.
On 3 occasions, we're going to go through all of them, not today, thank God. On 3 occasions, kids were brought to Jesus. Not of their own will, of their own volition, but by their parents. That had epileptic fits, anger issues, outbursts of emotion.
Yeah, we're not familiar with outbursts of emotion at all, are we, Greg Locke?
And because we've called it possession, parents refuse to deal with it. Are you telling me my kid's possessed? No, I'm telling you your kid could be demonized and attacked, but your doctor calls it autism.
Yeah, that's Greg Locke. So to your point, Balthazar, to think of how many children might have visual and auditory hallucinations, and instead of getting proper treatment, insane parents enable and encourage them. That's what's happening to them. Right now, Greg Locke has talked about a number of kids that he and his wife and even his own children have exorcised. They've exorcised these people. Where are they finding these people to exorcise, and how do they know that they're possessed by demons?
I'm telling you, your kid could be demonized and attacked, but your doctor calls it autism.
One can only speculate.